Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I'm so grateful to get to spend this time with you today, helping you to magnify your miracles. Today, we're going to be talking about messages from the other side, and I'm going to share some of my recent experiences with you and some of what I know about how to connect with the other side. But before we do that, let's take a few deep breaths together. Just get ourselves grounded and centered. Breathing in the energy of expansion, breathing out whatever you no longer need. As always, if you are driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can always bring your attention to your breath. And just giving yourself complete permission to be right here, right now. And knowing that whatever it is that you need to hear today that's going to help you to move forward, to inspire you, to help you to magnify your miracles, it's going to be exactly what happens. So let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, my friend, well, welcome once again. I'm so grateful that I get to be with you and that we get to continue this journey together, talking about things that are inspiring, talking about miraculous things, talking about things that, maybe there's no other place in your life where you can talk about this with anybody. I love talking about these things. This is what I live for. And I love hearing your stories. I've been enjoying your stories, and I love hearing other people's true life stories. And I like sharing my story with you. Hopefully you like it as well. So I want to talk a little bit about this topic of messages from the other side, and I'm going to share something with you that happened to me just a couple weeks ago, quite miraculously, of course. And what does it mean when we say messages from the other side? Well, usually when we're talking about the other side, we mean the non-physical world. So here we are, and you're talking to me, and I'm here in my body, in my home, talking to you through the miracle of technology, and you're able to hear it because you're in your body, wherever you might be, driving in your car, going for a walk. And we're here on this side. But when we leave this body, we call it being on the other side. And it's really the other side of the veil, meaning that there's another dimension besides the one that we can see and hear with our five senses that is beyond our five senses. Now, some people would say it's not really the other side, it's just kind of an expanded version of what we have, because you and I know that animals have more defined or more sharp senses than we do. A dog can hear a whistle that you and I can't hear, and yet it's a reality for that dog. That dog's going to respond to it as if it's happening right then and there, because it is happening right then and there. But you and I can't experience it because our ears aren't calibrated to that frequency. Similarly, we can communicate with beings that are beyond our 3D dimensions, but we can't necessarily see them with our physical eyes or our physical ears because they're not within that frequency. They've gone beyond that frequency. So that's usually called beings on the other side. Now, I love talking about saints. I love talking about Mother Mary. I love talking about ascended masters. I love talking about all these amazing beings. But the most common ones on the other side are our loved ones, people that we know that have crossed over. So that could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could even be a beloved pet that you had at some point, that they're no longer in their body, their essence energy has now moved into another plane of existence. And we grieve because we can no longer experience them the way that we did. We can no longer, pet our dog or hold our cat or sing with our bird or whatever it might be, or you can't hold the hand of your mom or your dad or your partner or your children or whoever it might be for you. Of course, we grieve. We're not really grieving for them because they're in a different energy and usually doing really, really well. And we're grieving really for ourselves because we miss them. And of course we do, because wherever you have a heart connection with somebody, when that energy appears to be gone, when our senses convince us that they're gone, we're going to experience that energy as loss. But I can share with you that this is something that I've been so curious about since I was really a little girl. And into my teenage years is like, what exactly happens and how does it all work? And if you listen to my previous podcast from last week, you know I was talking about, for me personally, having my South Node in Scorpio, I was born into a situation where I was experiencing a lot of people crossing over. And so I have this familiarity with having a relationship with people on the other side. My dad died when I was 3. My grandmother died when I was 11. My other grandmother died when I was like 20. My mom died when I was 27. I've had friends pass, from the time I was in my 20s and 30s on. And so I have a lot of loved ones that are on the other side. And yet, for me personally, I've never really been interested in becoming a medium per se. I've always really wanted to tap into the highest energy and frequency as possible. And yet, of course, the people that love us want to sometimes connect with us and to let us know that they're okay. So it's really normal for you to want that. And it's really normal for you to find a way that that can happen for you. And when it does happen, it helps you feel close and connected. And it helps you to see that they're still around and they're still loving you. Sometimes they're on your spirit team and they're looking out for you that way. And if you've had a particularly close relationship with somebody, often they will show up for you in a way that you will recognize. And there's a really good book. I'm not going to do a book review right now, but I will share with you, there's a really good book by Laura Lynn Jackson called Signs. And that book really chronicles her experience of when her dad crossed over and how she was able to develop a relationship with him, even though he wasn't in a body, and what those signs were, how she was able to develop those signs. And if you're curious about it, I definitely recommend that you get that book. I'll put it in the show notes, a link for it if you want to take a look at it. But it really explains this whole process of how you can start to become aware of signs from your loved ones on the other side. So I'm going to share some examples from my own life, and then I'm going to share a miraculous example as well. So for me, my mom, she loved Frank Sinatra. She's from that era, and she loved Frank Sinatra. So whenever I hear Frank Sinatra on the radio, I always say, "Oh, hi, Mom." Or when I see, if I'm going by a billboard and the billboard says, "I did it my way," I'm like, "Hi, Mom." That's my mom talking to me through the energy of Frank Sinatra. My mom also shows up in terms of roses. But there's something very interesting that has happened recently, is I've noticed that my mom will come to me in my dreams. And she usually only comes to me in my dreams when something's going on with somebody in the family. And so I've noticed this a lot. One time it happened where I had this dream about my mom. And then the next day I found out that my aunt, who's her sister, was getting ready to go in the hospital and have an operation. Or there was one time where my mom came to me in a dream, and I woke up and I was like, wow, my mom she was really wanting me to know, she was here in the dream. And then just out of curiosity, I reached out to my sister and I got her partner, and I found out that my sister had just gone to the hospital. She was needing an operation for something. I don't remember what it was. But and they were in such a state that they forgot to, let me know. And so my mom was like, "Hey, you need to know what's going on here." So for me personally, that's one of the ways that I have that connection with my mom. And whenever she does show up in my dreams, I'm always like, "Is everybody okay? What's going on?" And sometimes she just shows up to say hi, but a lot of times that's what's going on. So I'm curious for you how you have experienced messages from the other side. Since I've been working with Mother Mary now, it's been about 10 years that I've been actively channeling her energy. I have noticed that more people come through. So again, I'm not a medium. I don't profess to be a medium. But sometimes when Mother Mary shows up in an appointment for a client, she will bring with her their loved one. It could be their parent. It could be their husband or their wife. It could be a child. It could be a beloved pet, like I said. And this it used to happen every now and then, but since I've been working with Mother Mary, it happens a lot more frequently. And honestly, since the pandemic, it's been happening quite a bit. Well, we know during this pandemic, there's been a lot of people that have been crossing over. A lot of people have left the planet over these last couple of years and are still leaving the planet over this past couple of weeks or so. So I'm recording this in January of 2022. We just had our beloved Betty White pass. We were hoping she was going to make it to 100. She left on New Year's Eve. We had beloved Desmond Tutu Bishop Desmond Tutu passed. So many people passed in December of 2021. And now we're here in this brand new energy of 2022. And I'm noticing that there's just this energy. And as people have been leaving, I've been noticing that I've been attracting clients for whom people have been showing up. People have been wanting to connect with their loved ones. And it's a really beautiful thing. I can't predict it. It's not like, I can tell you, if you make an appointment with me, that this will definitely happen. But what I've noticed is if there's a need that you have, if you need closure, if there's some healing that needs to happen, Mother Mary has been bringing people and letting people have that final conversation, letting people have that reassurance that they need. A lot of times people just want to know, are you okay on the other side? Sometimes people feel guilty about maybe something that they did or that they didn't do, and they didn't get a chance to apologize. Maybe there was something strange about the way that the person passed. Maybe it was sudden, like an accident. All these things make people feel like they really want to connect with people from the other side. And what I'm telling you is you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely do that. And one of the things I'd recommend for you is to have that as an intention. Have it as an intention for 2022 and say, or whatever year you're listening to this. And if you really want to start being able to get messages from the other side, ask. You can ask Mother Mary, you can ask your higher self, you can ask whatever and whoever you believe in. You can just say, hey, universe, I really want to start getting messages from the other side. I really want to start getting messages from my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my beloved pet, whoever it might be. Now, usually what happens when I say this to people is some fear comes up. And they're like, oh, because the media, specifically movies, have made communicating with the other side seem really scary and really like, what's going to happen? But the truth of the matter is these are the people that love us. And a lot of times they've let go of whatever they were struggling with here. They're not having their physical pain, and their perspective shifts. Now, they're not necessarily self-realized. They're not necessarily enlightened, but they're living in the energy of unconditional love, especially if they're hanging out with Mother Mary. And they have a very different perspective. And a lot of times they want to come to tell you that they're sorry, that they see things differently, that maybe they didn't give you their blessing before, but they're going to give you their blessing now. And it can be really, really healing. So I recommend that you set an intention and you say, all right, universe, I'm open. And what did we say from one of my previous podcasts? It's safe for me to connect with the other side. Now, I am not going to tell you to do something like have a Ouija board. That is not something I recommend, because that's just like opening your front door and letting anybody in. I recommend that you work with Mother Mary, you work with Yogananda, you work with Christ consciousness, you work with the archangels, you work with the highest frequency energy that you can, and you ask them to help you. Or if you just want to work with the universe as light or energy, and you ask the universe to help you to connect with the other side in a way that's going to be safe for you. Now, when I say safe, I don't mean like, oh my God, it's going to be scary. I don't mean that. I mean that you feel safe, because we have some fear programmed into us, and we need to know, like, it's safe for me to get a message from my loved one. It's safe for me to have this connection with the other side. Like, I'm okay. It's going to be okay for you. So set that intention, say your prayer, invite in the angels because they love to help us with everything, and then pay attention. That's the key. You need to pay attention, because messages, what's the difference between just getting a piece of mail and getting a really important piece of mail? It's the attention, it's how you respond to it, right? And so you probably are getting messages all the time from your loved ones and you don't even know it, because it's not necessarily catching your attention. And then one day you're like, wait a minute. For me, it's like, hang on, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra is my mom. Nat King Cole is my dad. When I hear Nat King Cole, I'm like, hey, Dad. Now, I don't know my dad that well, so there's very few things that remind me of him. But even he has given me messages recently. So now I want to share with you a miraculous message that happened for me over the Christmas holiday, and how I received a message from the other side in a way that just blew my mind. So I'll share it with you, and I'm just giving this to you as an example. So for those of you who have not necessarily heard my whole story, when I was 7, I wanted to be a priest. And when I was very quickly told you cannot do that because girls can't be priests, I was like, well, then I want to be a musician. And I started playing acoustic guitar and learning how to play music. And I loved it. And I was like, I'm going to be a musician. And then I saw the Go-Go's on Saturday Night Live when I was 15. And I was like, oh, my eyes got really big. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to be in the Go-Go's. I want to be a rock star. So I went from being a musician to wanting to be a rock star. And it wasn't that I wanted to be a rock star. It's that I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to have friends who were creative, and I wanted to do something really fun for a living when I was 15. And that I set my sights on that. So as would happen, within the next couple of years, I got, I didn't trade it in, but I started getting an electric guitar, and I started learning how to play all the Go-Go songs, and I learned how to do all that stuff. And I actually got pretty good at doing it. And so by the time I was 17, it was time for me to go to college and pick a college. And really, I just wanted to go somewhere where I could become a rock star. And so I had very little guidance, very little guidance when I was 17 years old. And my 17-year-old self said very logically, Gina Shock, she's the drummer from the Go-Go's. Gina Shock is from Baltimore. Now I was living on Long Island at the time. I'm born and raised in Long Island. I could not imagine how I was going to get out to LA. Like that was just beyond my comprehension. And I thought to myself, well, Gina Shock, she's from Baltimore. Let me go to school in Baltimore. And so I started looking at schools in Baltimore, and lo and behold, there's a school in Baltimore that I went to college. They gave me financial aid and supported me and all of that. But, they wanted me to learn classical guitar. And after a semester, I was like, I'm not doing that. But moving to Baltimore was one of the best experiences I've had. Most of my really close friends are from Baltimore. Those of you who know me know that my mentor, Reverend Jane Howard Feldman, I met her in Baltimore. So many amazing things happened in Baltimore. I became a healer there. I got into 12-step recovery there. Like so many amazing things happened. In many ways, Baltimore feels a little bit more like my hometown than even Long Island does. And I happened to meet a woman there named Christine Mason. Now, Christine Mason, if you know her, you're blessed. She's amazing. If you're from Baltimore, you probably have heard of her. And you might not think that you know her, but if you ever have seen any of the John Waters movies, John Waters creates these wacky movies. The movie Hairspray is probably the one that you know. Now, there was a redo of Hairspray, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the original movie from 1988 that was shot in Baltimore. Well, my friend Christine, she did all of the wigs, all of the makeup, all the hair pieces, and she was really known for this. I mean, she's known for a lot of things, but she was in that kind of artsy community in Baltimore. And when I was friends with her, she knew that I was a Go-Go's friend, she actually said to me, oh, I used to be the manager of Gina's band when she was here. And so I was like, my circle of being close to the Go-Go's got even closer. And then time went on, and I moved to New York, and then my friend Chris unfortunately got sick, and she passed in 1999. And Chris, at the time, she was the best friend that I had at that time. She was my closest friend. I loved her dearly, and I was really bummed. She was only 49 when she passed. And even though she was ready to go, I wasn't really ready for her to go. So it's been like over 20 years since she's passed, and I think about her all the time. And her birthday is December 24th. So I always think about her on her birthday. So this year, now this is where I'm just giving you the backstory. So this is where the miracle happened. So this year, one of my clients who lives in California, his wife happens to be Gina Shock's physical therapist or something like that. She's been having problems with her shoulder. And he said, I'm going to get you something from Gina. And I was like, okay. It was 6 months ago he said that. Well, lo and behold, Christmas comes, and look what I get in the mail from my client. Gina Shock's book, Made in Hollywood, that just came out. And I had been wanting this book. It just came out in the fall, and Gina Shock kept doing things on Facebook saying, if you buy my book today, you can get it autographed. And I kept waiting, as my wife and I have a pact. It's like, you don't buy anything, before Christmas for yourself, because the other person's probably going to get it for you. So I get this in the mail, and look what it says. To Francis, which way am I going on this camera? To Francis, all the best, Gina, from November of 21. Gina Shock signed my book, you guys. My inner teenager is like, oh my God, Gina Shock signed my book. So not only do I have an autographed book from Gina Shock, which is amazing, right? I opened this on Christmas Day. Well, on Christmas Eve, when I'm saying hi to my friend Christine, I say to Christine, it's been over 20 years and you never come say hi to me. Why is that? I wish that you would come say hi to me. And then I forgot about it. So I opened this up on Christmas Day and I was all excited. The day after Christmas, I decided to sit down and really look at the book, right? So I'm opening the book and I'm going through the pages and I get to page 6. This is page 6, you guys. See this person right here? That's Chris Mason. And doesn't it look like she's got her hand up saying, hi? I opened this and I was like, oh my God, Christine Mason. Why? Because she was the manager of Gina Shock's first band, which I totally forgot about that until I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, there's my friend Chris Mason saying hi to me. Now, has she said hi to me these 20 years? She might have, but I probably missed it. This is a miracle, my friends. This is a miracle. I'm not sharing this because I'm bragging about it. I'm wanting to tell you, we're here magnifying our miracles. All I did on her birthday was remember her. And that's a clue. Your loved one, on the day that they crossed over, on the day that they were born, those are power days to connect with your loved one. It's a powerful time to connect with saints and other beings as well. But your loved one, if you think about them on their birthday, what I do with my mom and my dad, I go and I light a candle for them. If you think about them on their anniversary of when they left their body and their heavenly birthday, there's a way that you can, it's like their energy imprint is like on that day. So I highly encourage you, if you're wanting to get messages from the other side, as I said, set an intention and say, okay, this is the year I'm going to be open to that. And ask Mother Mary to help you to feel safe to receive those messages, that you know nothing scary is going to happen. It's going to be fine. And then, decide that you're going to start looking for those messages. And then on certain days, anniversary days, birthdays, reach out to them. Just like I did with my friend Christine. And I said, Chris Mason, happy birthday. I miss you so much. How come you never come say hi to me? I really wish that you just would say hi to me. And then everything that had to happen for her to come say hi to me. Miraculous. Don't you think? I think so. So I would love to hear any of your stories, my friend. Do you have any stories about messages from the other side? Maybe you have something that you have experienced that you're like, oh, this is what always works for me. I always do this thing. I do it on this day. And this is how I know that I can get a message from the other side. I'm telling you, they're listening. Our loved ones, they're here with us. We can't see them and we can't feel them with our 5 senses, just because our 5 senses are not tuned to that frequency. But my friends, they are here with you. Your loved ones are here and they're loving you and they're wanting you to be happy and they're cheering you on. They're wanting you to learn your life lessons in the most positive way, so that when you graduate from Earth School and you have a heavenly birthday, that you're going to have all your friends on the other side going, yay, she made it or he made it. You're going to have your loved ones cheering you. I'll leave you with this last thing, which is I was just reading about Betty White, who I love her so much. And she just loved her husband, Alan Ludden, so much that after he passed, she had been married 3 times and that was her 3rd husband. But for her, that was really the love of her life. And she said she couldn't wait. She couldn't wait to see him. She wasn't afraid of dying at all because she just was convinced that she was going to see him. And the last word that she said as she was crossing over was Alan. And I know she said that because she saw him. I know that he was there greeting her. It chokes me up to think about it, that her loved one was there greeting her, and she was eager in anticipation to meet him. She wasn't wanting to cut her life short by any means, and she almost made it to that 100 mark. But she had a life that was rich and filled with joy, and all her loved ones on the other side, I'm sure, are greeting her. So, my friend, as I said, I'd love for you to leave me a message, leave me a comment. I read all the comments. I'd love to hear about your experience. If you did enjoy this episode, please share it with your friends and your family. If you'd like to share it on social media, that would be great. The best thing of all is if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. Oh my goodness, that would help me out so much. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, my friend, I appreciate you, and know that we are going to totally be magnifying your miracles in this year. I can feel it, and I know it's true for you. What's the key? We want to know that our miracle is already here. God bless you, my friend. We'll talk next time. Bye-bye.